I'm so glad that you could talk to me about externship and tell us about your experience. Let us know where you worked.
So I worked at a bakery called the Mad Batter, and it's not a typical bakery, so I don't know how to describe it. Maybe you can help me. It's not a bakery that you could just walk into and they have display cases of things. It's kind of commercial and special order, I guess. They provide a lot of cakes and desserts that restaurants here in Sonoma County offer on their menus as if they bake them themselves. I didn't know that was how restaurants did it. Little magic behind the curtains. So they make a lot of those, and they do special orders. So like if you they do wedding cakes, there's a lot of vineyards and wineries here. So like there's always some kind of events happening. So they oftentimes, always here it's very popular to get allergen friendly food, and they're a gluten-free bakery. So and they can really accommodate to pretty much any allergy. Which has been really fun. It's been really fun working there. Yeah.
Well, so that's really neat to know that, like, you just even reaching out to places to realize that, oh, other people
Yeah.
kind of like,
Well, the way I found it,
ghost cook for
yes,
you, right?
I didn't even know this. The way I found it was so strange. I live in a little town in Sonoma, and I go to this restaurant that's got a lot of vegan options and a lot of gluten-free options. And they had a vegan gluten-free cheesecake for dessert. And I mean, as disgusting as that might sound to people who eat dairy, I was like, oh, I'll try it. And it was like having the best cheesecake. I mean, it was everything you want a cheesecake to be, truly. And I mean, I wasn't always allergic, so I've had many cheesecakes in my life. And I asked the waiter, I said, "Hey, I'm in culinary school. I would love to like know and just talk to the chef who made this." And like, well, we don't make it. It comes from a place called Mad Batter. And then I literally went home and looked it up, and yeah, that's how I found it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to find this place. Uh,
And that's so cool because I have had like the people who have had like amazing externship experiences, they're like, wow, I love this food. I want to learn how to make it. And so I
yeah,
think that's just like following your stomach.
yeah. And then funny enough, turns out the coffee shop that I go to here in town that has really great muffins, and she makes the batter. And like they have great cookies. I've had them many times. It was always the coffee shop I'd bring people to because it always had stuff I could eat as well. So I was, and it's so funny. She's like, she really does supply all these places with just wonderful. And when I had that cheesecake though, I knew I was like, the product. I just wanted to know how to make that product, right? Like at the end of the day, like, oh my God, how do you do something like that?
So did you learn that? So you called
Yeah.
the Mad Batter.
Yeah. So
Did
I
you
sent
cold
her an
call them? What
email.
did you
I looked
do?
it up. I looked her up online, and I sent her an email, and I just literally, just like it said in like our externship like course, where it's like, just like say you're in culinary school. And I'm like, okay. And I did. I was like, hey, I'm in culinary school. I went to the Wild Goat Bistro, had this cheesecake. My waiter told me this is where it came from. Part of the program, we have to like do an externship, which is basically going and working somewhere. And I was like, I'll send you I think I attached the paperwork to like, just so she could look it over. And I was like, but I would pretty much work as many hours as you'd like for me to do, as long as I can learn to make that cheesecake. And she was like, you need to come in here. I want to meet you. Absolutely. We'll help you out. Within an hour, she had responded. And then when I went and did like the interview, uh, I stayed there for 3 hours. Like, we just had so much to talk about. Like, there's just so much to talk about. And, like, showed me around the kitchen. We already discussed the schedule and shifts that I'd work. Like, by the time I left, she was basically handing me the keys. No, but she's so sweet and wonderful. And what I've learned, because then that kind of like cracked the ice. And then anywhere I go now, I tell them I'm in culinary school. And I mean, I went to this little place that sells charcuterie. They make their own charcuterie and salamis and things. And I was having people over, and I was going to put together a whole tray. I was like, well, I'll go somewhere here. It's local and organic. And I told them, I was like, oh, I'm in culinary school. And they're like, oh, you want to take a look around? He showed me things that I didn't even know existed. Like, I've never thought about making charcuterie. Well, now that I've seen it, I know I won't make it. But like just it's fascinating how easy it is, how people want to talk about it. Like at farmers markets, they want to talk about their product when you say like you're in culinary school. They'll go on. And now I feel like I only meet chefs everywhere. Just like it's like a magnet somehow. I don't know.
I love that. And I think it is just like opening, you kind of open that door to like let people know, hey, I'm kind of part of this club now that
Yeah.
I am like so into food that I am studying it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's, I mean, there's like a kimchi lady that talk to quite often, and I speak to another gluten-free baker who lives 2 counties just north of here, who sells a lot of products at farmers markets like around me, and a guy who makes curry and sells to our local schools. Like I've met so many interesting connections just by saying like, well, I'm in culinary school.
I love hearing that. Okay, so tell us at the Mad Batter, which the name is
Yeah.
awesome.
It's the best. And their logo has like a hat and a little card that says 30 over 350, if you know what that means. If you know, you know, right?
I, I don't know. I've got to look at my Lewis Carroll again. I'm
You
not
would
sure if
know,
I.
you know, because it's the temperature that you typically bake a cake, right? 30 minutes at 350. And it's
Uh,
just like a
uh,
cute little nod to like I asked her, I was like, what is that? And she told me, I was like, oh yeah, that is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what were you doing there? Like, do you go in for a shift? You're like, you have a
Yeah.
shift. What is that like? What time are you showing up?
Well, I got kind of lucky there because they have a small staff. It's 2 employees plus they have like delivery people and things like that. It's 2 employees plus the owner and her daughter. So it's 4 people total. And what I found when I went in there is if I could only be available 1 day a week, I was probably only going to learn one thing because they ran a system of stuff that they do, right? So like on Mondays is when they mix all of their flour blends. So like they mix their blends for creating batters throughout that week for different cakes. It might be pies, depending on different restaurants or special orders. They've showed me how they organize their board for that and then how they kind of prepare against it. So like I started going in, that was my first, that's where I started basically. I started on Mondays and because I basically was like, I want to start kind of at the beginning if I can of like the process. And truthfully, that was what I was the worst at. And the part that I was most hesitant when I was transitioning from like home cook to chef is working in measurements of grams because it's just so foreign, especially at 43. Like, I mean, I didn't, it's like learning a new language. I didn't speak it. I can't picture what 25 grams looks like of flour versus 1,300 grams of brown rice flour. You know what I mean? I didn't know how big a bowl I needed. Like, I just couldn't picture it. And so being able to start making flour bins that go into those 50-gallon garbage cans really starts wrapping your head around how much weight things are, like cups and ounces and grams and milliliters. Like you just really, it was fascinating just seeing it all. And now when I go in and I'm working on a recipe, because a lot of times she has me testing recipes for them too, which I love doing. Uh, but it's like before I was like, I don't know what size bowl to use. Like, am I going to be using this giant mixer? Or am I going to be using one of the countertop KitchenAids? Uh,
So
and
to
so
yeah, so but now you know, right? I mean,
yeah. Oh, now it's my favorite game to play. Is like, can I get right on it and how many scoops? Like I know exactly, like it's so fun. I love it. Like I know exactly the size. Yeah, just I'm a visual learner in that sense of like, the other thing that I'll say from the nutrition standpoint that also helps you now interpret nutrition labels very differently. And so even when I look at this tea that I would drink in a can that I always considered so nice because it was organic and it was made here locally, so I didn't feel bad like buying it. It's literally made and bottled here in Sebastopol, and it has 25 grams of sugar per serving. There's 2 servings in a can, and I know exactly what 50 grams of sugar looks like. And the trade-off for me of looking at that, I'm like, oh, I really don't want that kind of sugar, that much sugar in my body. I don't want that sugar. Like, if I'm going to eat 50 grams of sugar, I'd rather eat it differently than drink it in a can.
Right. Well, and that's so, using that scale is
Yeah.
really, really important. And so they have industrial scales. What kind of scales do they have?
Their scales are they're not industrial, I guess, but they are pretty big. And you can sit big, heavy things on them, but they're still tabletop size. They're not the kind I have at home. They're a little bit larger. In fact, I see them at like the bread store and places like this bakery shops in town. I actually sometimes will pick up their flour and deliver because the mill, they use central milling, which is in the town that I live in, and I drive up to Santa Rosa. So some days if I'm working a shift, I'll call and be like, "Do you need anything picked up?" But at that place too, I buy now my flowers and things like that there, which is really nice because I didn't even know that place existed.
So you learned about their distributors and
Yes, that's the other side. Like she's like, and it also has really helped inform like decisions that I'll have to also make, like as a business owner and things that I want to do, and kind of like where I want to prioritize, like even my own spend when I start to invest in like my own brand of what I think is going to be best for me, right? And like what, according to my own brand. And I got a little sidetracked there. I'll talk about that.
no, but
But
it's so important because you're thinking about that. And right. And
yeah,
if you're going to open a place, you need to work in a place that's kind of like the place you want to open.
yeah.
Be- It's unless you want to,
Or
unless you
not
just
like
have
the
what a
place that you learn that you're like, oh, this is because like I like there's so much about this business that I would want to duplicate, but then there's so much that I'm a Virgo and that energy runs really hard through me that I'm like, oh, I want to streamline this and make it more organized and it can be. That's also the other side of my previous career is that's I did business development for many years, so like I was really into that side of things. So I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, oh no, we can just make a few tweaks here, Dawn, and
right,
keep.
but you're still like
Yeah.
learning that, right? You're
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not just like gonna go and open a cake shop or a
Oh
bakery
no.
without
Yes.
having
Yeah.
experienced like, oh, this is like I was saying, the hours, like even
Yeah.
just those little things, like, oh, they have a
Yeah.
schedule, like,
Yeah.
where are we getting our, you learn
Right.
about the city so
And
much.
also like how places serve things truly, because when you go places, like I always just assumed when I went to a coffee shop or a restaurant, like those cookies were fresh baked and they're made there. I don't know why, I just assumed that. uh but no, they're frozen. And the weird part is like with these types of freezers they use, they're not like your freezer at home, right? And eh, things come out of the freezer, like a cookie comes out of the freezer, and in an hour, it tastes just like a fresh baked cookie. You never knew it was in the freezer. So it's like, it's really strange. I don't know how to describe it. I'm like,
They
maybe
have
I
the
just am not used to eating that way, but like I just always now seeing behind the curtain has like opened my eyes to like, oh, well, this is how, because like I look at the things that she sells and prepares and I think about like how I want to offer things in farmers markets in the beginning, but I'm just going to rent a kitchen, right? Like I'm not going to sign a lease. I'm just going to rent a kitchen by the hour. But like this has helped me organize like, oh, well, if I'm going to bake these particular items, this is how many hours I'll need this kitchen for because I know I can freeze these things. I know I have freezer space here. I can rent this, and this. So it's like been able to help streamline that in a sense.
well, yes, so much, like you said, behind the curtain, even knowing that, oh, a deep freeze exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's companies too that are starting to sell the same items that they might sell to a restaurant, right? And they're delivering them to you frozen,
Right.
right? And so that's like another whole
Right.
option for as a baker. It's like, okay, am I selling frozen? Am I selling fresh? What is the packaging? Like, what is their
Right.
packaging like?
Their packaging is really simple. They have some. because they sell a lot of cakes, right? So like their cakes, they're going into commercial, like they're going into restaurant freezers. Uh, and so it's just a white box and it has a sticker, like a gold sticker with their logo on it to seal it. But like there's nothing fancy there because that restaurant sells it like it's their coconut cake. Uh, and then when they do a pop-up once a month where they open to the public, because they used to go to farmers markets and do the farmers market circuits. But then instead they were like, what if we just open a pop-up and like open up this commercial kitchen to our customers, like just advertise it on Instagram. So once a month they do that. And I help out a couple days a week, the weeks that they do that, because that's when they start baking a lot of the things that I'm kind of more interested in, like cinnamon rolls and like doing like gluten-free, dairy-free cinnamon roll. Like I'm just like there's brioche doughs excite me, those types things that like I love this program so much, but in my mind I was like, how when you go through the pastry course, you're like, well, I can't make all of this because like it's just me at my house and like I cannot have all of this at my house. So it was nice to be able to go there and be like, oh, well, now I can experiment with so many different enriched doughs and crusts and things and not have to eat them, you know? Like, it's like,
No,
feel it
it's
was so
true.
great.
It's true. Yes. And well, and hopefully if the students out there, you are giving away a lot of your baked goods
Yes, yes, yeah.
and not eating them all. But I mean,
I
and
made deals with my neighbors and was like, you're going to get a lot of 90% desserts, which means I'm going to take 10% of it so I can test it and try it, but then you're going to get the rest.
well, and as you're saying, like the way you're baking and preparing things in a mass, for mass
Right,
consumption, you're making so bigger batches, right? So you can
right.
sell them, and the way that feels, even in the way you're become really streamlined and you doing the measuring, and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
this one I need this cookie scoop, this one
yep,
this one goes in the freezer for 20 minutes now, you know.
yeah. And like just being able to process engineer some of that yourself and like, oh, well, if I'm making, because like when you cook at home and you're making a batch of cookies that gives you anywhere from a dozen to like whatever, 24 maybe they're small. Uh, you don't realize how inefficient some of your time is doing things because it's a small batch. But then when you go to scale things, you're like, oh shit, this is a lot of work. And I actually kind of learned that the hard way before I started my intern or externship. Uh, the gal who I board my dog once a week at this little farm, and it was her daughter's birthday, and her dad has an allergy, so she asked if I could make cookies, and I was like, yes, I would love to. And I was like, I will just do it for at cost because I wouldn't even know how to charge, but like I'll just do it at cost. She's like, great. uh, and it was so inefficient. I made 160 cookies, and it was in my little kitchen at that time. And I was like, I was so inefficient at it. It didn't hold it in all of my. I learned the hard way. I couldn't fit it all in my mixer. Like there were so many things that I just like, woof. I just didn't know. I didn't know. Again, not doing that externship, I didn't know how the flour, what it looked like at that volume. I wasn't even couldn't even compute. Like just mind melt, you know?
Well, and they're doing things over and over again. I think that, being in culinary school, we're like experimenting. We're like trying to expose you to as many things as we can,
Right,
so that
right.
then you can say, "Oh, this is the thing that I want to do over and over again and become an expert in."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so how many menu items does the Mad Batter have? Like they're just making over and over and over.
They have about 7 different types of cakes that they offer to a couple different restaurants that range everywhere. Like they're really known for their carrot. They have a delicious carrot cake. They also do the Thomas Keller version of a coconut cake, but gluten-free and dairy-free that will literally change your life. They do salted caramel cakes, German chocolates, red velvet. They do really the classic type of cake that you probably most Americans have had multiple times all their lives if they grew up without allergies. And then when you develop them, you're missing it. Like you
Mhm.
never find it, it's not replicated. So a lot of it's based in those types of foods. So they do those types of cakes. They have a chocolate chip cookie and a peanut butter cookie they do, a vegan brownie, lemon bars. They have what's called a Hello Dolly bar, which I can't tell if that's something they made up or if it's uh like something that I've just not heard of. I don't think it looks quite, it's not my thing. It's like a blondie with a lot of coconut in it. I don't know. It's not for me. But people love it, you guys. They sell out of them all the time. They make a tray of those a week and put it in their freezer, and people just come in and buy them frozen. So like they make a lot. And then they do all their cakes. They also make in cupcakes as well, so you can have that version of a cupcake. And then they do special orders. They'll literally do anything. Oh, they
Mhm.
make a lot of batters too for those coffee shops. So they make batters for like cornmeal muffins, and they do a blueberry muffin,
So
and
they're actually selling the batter to the coffee shop, and the coffee shop's baking up what they want.
yep, yep. Because you know what's really been interesting learn, and one of the things that she kind of like shared with me when I first started there, and I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense, is that she always lets her batters marinate for 24 hours minimum before she bakes them because she uses a lot of grains. It's brown rice, it's white rice, and if you think about how hard rice is, and it's like really if you want to hydrate it and fully absorb, that's why her cakes truly, that's one of the reasons her cakes taste so undetectably gluten-free, because they're so moist and the grains are fully hydrated, and it really does make a difference because I make the batters one day and I pull them out the next day, and sometimes it looks like jello. Like that's how
Yeah. That,
viscous it is, right?
and that's so important with gluten-free baking is to do that hydration for 24 hours. And so
Yeah.
then are you adding more liquid to get the consistency before you bake it, or what's the process?
It depends. Some of the doughs are kind of shaggier than others. Most of her batters are for cakes are pretty liquid. I would say that I'm trying to compare it to like a familiar, very much like a pancake, like even more, sometimes more liquid than a pancake when it goes in. Uh, I mean, it's easily poured out, maybe like even the texture almost of warm honey, like
So
pretty
yeah,
liquid.
so she's like probably perfected the recipe, right? Where she's adding enough liquid at the start where you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so thin, but then you do the hydration step and then it's the
She
consistency.
even makes certain breads that way too, like super high hydration. Like she has a focaccia that she makes that is like more liquid than I said the pancake batter as well. That I'm like, there's no way this is gonna be bread, sweetie. Like, and it is.
Well, so any words of wisdom for other people looking for externships and just getting out there in their communities?
Honestly, get over the awkward. It's only awkward for you. Truly. It's only awkward for you. It's not awkward when you ask somebody. Just put yourself in their position. If you had a business or a brand and you were a chef or had this place, wouldn't you love the fact that somebody like admires what you do enough to ask, like, hey, can I learn from you? It's only awkward for you. And only the first time. So get it over with. Just get it over with and do it. Yeah. I think that's probably, yeah, my biggest piece is like, yeah. And be open to like all of it. Cause I truly didn't I don't know how I ended up here. I don't know how I ended up at like when I say like I didn't plan in the beginning to do my externship at a bakery at all. But then again, I tried that product and I was like, this is, as I developed like the things I wanted to do in my business and like where I want to go after school, I found out how important it was to have products like that and to have a product that just really stands on its own and speaks for itself, because that's so much of like the culinary world. You kind of have to, right? Like it's about taste, and you can't, it's undeniable. Like her product is undeniable. And like I said, it's not a mirror for mirror. And we discussed this, her and I. Like it's not a, I don't want to mirror her business in any kind of way, or truly. Like I have very different like ethos of what I want to bring into my brand and different things. I don't even really care to make a cake. Truthfully, I prefer to recommend them to her. Uh, but
Because that is a something, right? You always think like everybody's your competition.
exactly, yeah. And that's why it's like not. That's why you might feel awkward asking people like they're gonna like I want to. How are they gonna take it? I want to do what they're doing. They're gonna be so flattered, and they know how much work it is to actually do what it is they're doing. So they they kind of want to share that. And yeah, like I said, even at farmers markets today that I plan to sell at, I introduce myself with what I plan to do and what I'm doing to gluten-free people who are gluten-free bakers selling there. They're like, "Oh my God, what are you gonna make? What are you selling? This is such a great idea. I love what you're doing." Because it's not gluten, because I'm doing something that's a little more than just gluten-free, but uh and the access of my business also runs a little bit differently as well. So but at the end of the day, they say a rising tide raises all boats, right? And that's kind of what we want to do in terms of helping people eat well and nutritious. It's like really help democratize that in a bit and share that kind of knowledge and education and accessibility to those products as well.
That's right, because you get people eating like that and they don't want just one restaurant, right? If you had to go
Right.
to one restaurant in your town for
Right.
the rest of existence, you would be like,
Exactly.
I'm not going to eat like this, right? But if you've
Exactly.
got options, then you're going to maintain that lifestyle, and making it
Yes.
easier for people is what it's all about. And then
Totally.
becoming part of that community of, hey,
Totally.
we are, yeah, we're supporting each
Yeah.
other, having events together. It can be really
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank
Of
you for sharing with
course.
us. This was really wonderful and I think important. And I'm gonna ask everybody to watch it.
Yeah. Thank you.